Hey, hello leaders, and welcome back to another version, the video version of Run to Your Leadership Challenges. This is the video version of my daily podcast, and this is a little longer than the daily 2-minute podcast because I give you a little bit of extra in the beginning and a little bit of extra on the end. So I hope you get value out of these videos. The only thing is I don't waste I don't spend any time editing or cutting these videos, so they are totally they'll have a lot of the blunders and double takes and stuff like that on there. So this whole week, we're talking about leadership failure and the impact that it has on you as a leader and on your team. So I'm going to get right into it. Yesterday, we talked about the impact that it can have on your team and if your attitude and how much your attitude towards failure has on others. Today, we're going to talk about leadership failure as the inability to accept criticism and how this can hold you back as a leader, and it can actually really kill the morale of your team too. So without further ado, I'm going to hit the record button, give it a couple seconds for sound check, and I will get going. Hello leaders, and welcome to Run to Your Leadership Challenges. So this whole week we're talking about the challenge of leadership failure and the impact that it can have on yourself and your team. Today I want to discuss a type of failure that can really hurt you while it destroys the relationships around you. And that is leadership failure and that is the leadership failure of having the inability to accept criticism. Now, this is a type of failure that haunts me at times, partly because of my C personality sometimes of liking all the facts and figures and things to be perfect. However, another reason is because, I'm just downright stubborn sometimes. I actually think my way is the best way, or sometimes the only way to do things. And that can get me into trouble. That can cause me to have the inability to accept criticism because I'll get all offended and defensive. This is a difficult position to be in because if I'm not careful, I can get mean and hateful without even realizing it. And, my wife is quick to bring this up to me, and I thank her for that, but not always in the best of ways, all right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is that this type of failure is something that I struggle with at times, and talking about it and sharing my flaws with you will hopefully allow you to understand that it's just the way some people are wired. And now I'm not saying that this is good, and I'm not saying this to justify my behaviors on any way, shape, or form, but it's sometimes right and it's sometimes wrong, but I got to figure out how to get that balance in between. And if you struggle with that, it's the same way. So I'm just saying that it's very difficult to get through this type of inability to accept criticism at times. Having the inability to accept criticism can really hold you back as a leader, because when you add your team to your leadership, it'll always make for a better decision. So if you are blocking them out, thinking that your way is the only way or the best way, you're losing out on their abilities, their skills, their knowledge, and their experience. If you have a team who is willing to correct you on the spot and or call you aside and point out something that you can improve on, consider that one of the greatest blessings you can have, because it says that your people care enough about you to help you become the best leader that you can be. On the flip side, if you constantly refuse to accept their constructive criticism, you are slamming the door in their face. And this just isn't going to pan out all too well in the long run. Eventually, your people are going to start shutting down and completely stop caring about you. And when that happens, you'll be treading all alone in the water. You'll end up having nobody to confide in at work, or nobody that you can go to and ask for help. So if you have a difficult time accepting criticism of any kind, let me offer you this one piece of advice. And that is to, now this may sting a little bit, but get over yourself. Understand that nobody is perfect, not even you. Not even with all the research and the facts and figures that you have right in front of you. You still may have a flaw, and you still may be able to be corrected or improve your process or your solution. Understand that even the greatest plans can have minor flaws. So, today, utilize your team members and allow them to openly share their ideas, their thoughts, their opinions, and all of this to improve you and your team. Hey, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. As a reminder, please check out our YouTube channel, Current Leadership Coaching, where you can watch the uncut, unedited video version of this show, and you get a little extra value each day in the beginning and the end. As always, thanks for listening, and until tomorrow, run to your challenges. All right, that was a little rough, man. I was a little, I don't know, I guess I'm a little bit rusty today. But here's the point I'm trying to make on this whole, the inability to accept criticism. And that is, it is something that I struggle with at times, but just know that if you are having a hard time trying to, with the inability to accept criticism, just know that you are hindering yourself from improving, because you're saying you can take everything on by yourself and you just don't want anybody else's opinion or criticism. Now, I have some C personality in me on a DISC scale. So the C's are the perfectionists, the ones that like all the facts, figures, stats, all that stuff. Now, my C only kicks in when it really needs to be there. But when it does, and when somebody attacks that side of me, man, it can be very hurtful. So if you're like this, I get it. I know exactly where you're coming from. So what we need to do is, if we have somebody that is unable to accept criticism, if you're working for that member, just approach them very delicately. Don't go in their face and say, here, I found this and you're wrong. And man, because they don't like that. I know I don't like that. And I know if you're a high C and very detail oriented out there and a perfectionist, you're never going to like somebody approaching you and telling you that something you're doing is wrong. That's just wrong. All right. So approach them in a caring, loving way, if you will. And just say, hey, I got another idea, or I noticed this and I came up with an idea that might be able to make it a little bit better. And just be ready to have that wall be put up, all right? Because they're going to be like, the first instinct is going to be to shut you down, because we know, all right? So hope this helps today. And if you have the inability to accept criticism, just be willing to listen, all right? Don't take everything so personal. Be willing to listen and then just digest that information. Take it all in and ask yourself, will this really be helpful? And if the answer is yes to that, then thank them for pointing it out, pointing out a flaw that you may have, and then move on, all right? So, hope you enjoyed today's show, and until tomorrow, let's see, tomorrow we're going to be talking about the failure of micromanaging. So I hope you join me tomorrow. Until then, run to your challenges.